Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this best of 5 finals between Mousesports and Heimerdingers Colossi, who have been performing incredibly well and have in that last game frankly just destroyed their opponents. So Metas, what do you feel is going to be Mouse's strategy here? They have to come back into this game somehow.
Oh, it's a tough one to call, Spud, but the intentions have been made clear. Their first ban was Twisted Fate, and it's Mouse that have gone for that one. So I guess that is again an interesting one, but understandable. Twisted Fate didn't really work for them, and not wanting to leave it open, they've also banned Raven, which is against freeze, like 100% against freeze. He's just so strong. Meanwhile, bans coming out from Heimerdingers Colossi are going to be both Karthus and Jace, back to Mousesports. And do you think that maybe they'll ban the Jarvan again, or will they just realise that Maluno is going to play a very strong jungler regardless of what you ban against him?
Well, he is very good on everything, but you also have to deal with that, Jarvan the Fourth is really his favourite. It's very likely that if it's his favourite, it's his most efficient champion. I mean, maybe he just does it for fun, but the difference seems very difficult to tell though, because he just performed incredibly well on Maokai, which I don't know if we've seen him even play before in the Challenger series. It just seemed like he can play anything almost incredibly well, and well, what do you ban against that?
What do you ban indeed? I mean, we haven't seen him actually play Maokai personally in the EUS Challenger Series, but it definitely fits his criteria for junglers. He likes to be gank-centric, as we said before. He's a very aggressive jungler who wants to make plays happen, and that's pretty much what Maokai does. They've left Jarvan open, and it's going to get picked from Heimerdingers Colossi. So again, you don't pick out one of their champions, they're going to go ahead and pick it alongside Shen, which you might have kind of used to very good effect at the bot lane, as it turned out to be. So this is one of the problems with Heimerdingers Colossi playing off against them. They have such huge champion pools that even if you directly ban out Extinct, for example, in mid lane with 3, he's still probably got another 3 to 5 champions he's just at the same level of expertise with. And that's not even mentioning the rest of the players on their team. The first pick here for Mouse is going to be Thresh. They are hovering over Nautilus, and AOD has yet to decide, but already very strong, comfortable champions for Heimerdingers Colossi.
Yeah, Nautilus would be a good pickup. I mean, he's just generally always going to be a good pickup. Strong in almost every regard as a tank CC jungler. Would work well with that Thresh, sets people up very well for the hooks. But they are going to be going up against that Shen, who is, on Yamato Cannon, a very strong champion. It will be interesting to see, but you've got to say, how are they going to cope with Heimerdingers Colossus getting 2 such strong champions right off the bat? I mean, actually, say, is that genuinely a Lee Sin pick?
It could very well be a Lee Sin pick. We saw Shook V2, as he's known as in this Challenger series, taking Lee Sin a couple of times and used it to extremely strong effect. So I'm not too sure if it is a Lee Sin. I am assuming it's not going to be in jungle. That's where I would assume that Sarascu is going to be picking up the Nautilus. But Lee Sin can be played in mid and also top. We have seen this quite a few times. Going back to when Froggen started running it in mid and it just became the flavour of the month, every single solo queue game in the world ever was seen playing a Lee Sin mid. So it would be quite interesting. Having a look at the composition, they were hovering over Zac previously. Had they have locked that in, I would have thought that Extinct would be running Jarvan in mid again. And interestingly enough, if they did go with that, the only game that they have dropped in the last 3 or 4 weeks in the EUS Challenger Series against Giants, Extinct actually ran the Jarvan mid. So I don't know if they'll be going for that one again here, Spud, but interesting nonetheless. Janna and Caitlyn for their bot lane.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and the Janna Caitlyn very much signals to me a swap up and then a very heavy push. So you can expect to see Mouse also try and pick up a very strong pushing AD carry. What they would actually opt to go for, though, it's very hard to know. Yeah, it's just looking like Heimerdingers Colossi getting one of their kind of dream teams again. They're getting that Shen, who's just incredibly good all around, very solid top lane. You've got that Jarvan, who could actually be going mid, as you say. You do see Yamato Cannon running him top sometimes, but I doubt that would be the case when they've got Shen picked as well. And yeah, jungle versus mid, it could be either, and it messes with people. So what can you do? You can't pick against it, but then, because obviously, if they do somehow counterpick like Jarvan mid, then they'll just say, okay, well, we won't run him mid, then we'll run him in the jungle. They're not committed to their role, even though you just don't know what it is yet. Still, it's going to be made clear now. I think we have got that Zed being hovered over on my screen. Mouse, meanwhile, are running. I'm not sure I like that Ezreal pick at the moment. Problem being purely that I don't know if they're going to be able to utilize that in the early game against that incredible push from Heimerdingers Colossi, because if they run that Malunu, I mean that Nunu on Malunu, the Malunu, but if they run that, the classic thing we've seen him do is they just rotate, they have that Caitlyn and Janna going, to the top lane. They have them against in that 2v1. Then they have Nunu just appear. He doesn't even try and gank. He just goes behind and they shove really, really hard with 3 people, take down the tower incredibly fast because they've got the shield and the blood boil. And that's something you have to try and cope with. Ezreal can't really counter push that hard, and Nautilus won't be able to stop that kind of play style either.
My only concern here with Mouse's team composition is it's very much early to mid based. Lee Sin falls off late game. Ezreal, if he's going blue build, will fall off late game as well. So then a lot of the initiative is going to have to be picked up from moops on Diana. Nautilus does a fair amount of damage as a jungler, as Thresh does as a support, but it's not going to be enough to pick up the entirety of Heimerdingers Colossi. So their team comp to me screams that they want to be aggressive early game and finish this one soon. They don't want it going towards 45 to 50 minutes and above, because then they're going to be just well and truly behind on pure damage output. Interestingly enough as well, Spud, we're seeing Extinct run the Lux. Not a mid laner that I've seen him play a great deal of.
Yeah, it's going to work. I mean, Lux is a very generally strong champion, and the thing to consider here is that as a sieging team, if they're ahead, they have an incredibly good setup. If they get ahead, it's going to be almost impossible for Mouse to deal with, because they're going to have to contend with the Shen split push, and they're going to have to contend with a Jarvan who can tank 3, 4, 5 tower shots very easily just on shields alone, because they've got the Aegis, they've got the Janna shield, they've got the Lux shield, and he's got that armor buff, so he can just walk up to a tower, tank shots, Caitlyn hits the tower while he's tanking, or they could go for the dive. And that's going to be, very, very hard to just camp behind that tower, especially considering that Mouse's wave clear is very iffy. That being said, if they can get that early lead, Mouse might be able to manage something, but I can't see them being able to do that if they're going to have to contend with that Caitlyn, Janna, Nunu shove lane. And then you've got, Ezreal, who doesn't push that fast. You've got Thresh, who doesn't push that fast. Could be difficult. But anyway, we will be moving into a quick commercial break while we wait for the next game to start, so we will see you in just a minute.
Hello ladies and gents, hold on to the thought because I was about to do an introduction, but here come Mouse very aggressively out the gates. Having said that, Caitlyn has spotted them 90 caliber net and is going to get back. So, could very well mark the end of this brief glimpse into what potentially could happen. I'm John by Spuddington. You are live into the best of 5 finals between Heimerdingers Colossi, if I can get my words out properly, and Mousesports. First game went to Heimerdingers Colossi after a 21-minute surrender vote came through. It was very, very one-sided in the end. And we were speaking before Spud in the break, and indeed in the Champion Select as well, that we're both a bit... We're thinking this is probably going to be a grim outlook from Champion Select base, because the late game damage from Mouse is not very high. They have to get an extremely strong start and push it through and finish this one soon.
Yeah, there are multiple disadvantages to Mouse's composition they're running here. It's very high risk in terms of, their late not being that great. They also have that problem, as I've mentioned, if they get that swap up against them, the Caitlyn Janna lane and the Nunu push, they don't have many tools to deal with that. Nautilus has okay wave clear, but it's not going to be easy for them to stop that push strat happening. And Ezreal and Thresh won't be able to counter push very well because their pushing really doesn't factor by comparison, because Ezreal obviously does have that mystic shot. He gets a little bit more damage out of that, but it's all single target. He doesn't get that AoE knockdown on the waves until level 6, by which point it will be far too late. So now we've actually got Kikis in the top lane playing that Lee Sin. He's going to have to do some really sterling work to hold on to his tower here, and I wouldn't bet on that happening easily. We do see Yamato Cannon in that bottom lane. He isn't going to be a great counter pusher himself, and in fact, if Kick is maxed E, he might have some wave clear, but I still think we'll see that top tower go down. I do still think we'll see Malunu heading in for that top with the Jarvan, and they will just push down their tower as fast as possible. CyrusQ has not been interrupted this time though, so he might be able to get there in time to try and do something. Again though, I don't feel like they're going to have the counter push necessary to hold their tower for long enough.
Jarvan is going down to bot, so Malunu, he's trying to play a hand, but I'm not too sure about how much success he's going to have against an Ezreal and Thresh. Flay and Arcane Shift is going to get them out of dodge unless a beautiful taunt can land, and first ability was not picked up. Vorpal Blade first in, here comes Nautilus at the top, and Kikis is going to have him some babysitting. So both junglers pretty much just filling in the blanks for their team. You could see though from the very get-go that Kikis is very much knowledgeable about the fact that he is weak. He's picked up a rejuvenation bead first and also placed a ward down in his back tribush area, realizing the ganks could be coming in with a tower dive. So you can see right from the start his mentality going into this was very much defensive.
Yeah, he knew he was going to get a lane swap put on him here, and that is much the same as could be said about CyrusQ here. Has actually landed the hook on Freeze. Freeze may be a little bit out of position. The tornado goes down though. That's going to actually mean that Kikis has taken a lot of damage for free, and if you look at the counterpart in bottom lane, Yamato Cannon still has all 5 of his pots. It does feel like Mouse here are getting pushed back. Getting pushed back on their heels, and Mithy actually does get a little bit of damage on him from that Lee Sin. We do have CyrusQ following it up with that auto attack, but again, push back, and I feel like they're taking more damage here than Freeze and Mithy.
Yeah, very, very true. And of course, Freeze with the Doran's Blade is going to be getting some health back every now and again. So it's just adding more and more threat to the top lane right now. Let's have a quick look at Caitlyn's Quince, and she doesn't have any lifesteal. In fact, let's have a quick look. Yes, she does. She got 5% lifesteal. So on top of the Doran's Blade, will be getting life much quicker back than Kikis will with the rejuvenation beads. Going to constantly just spam him back. Jarvan actually really deep in enemy territory. Malunu taking out the wolves, maybe opting, if Lux can land the light binding, to go ahead and tower dive Moops. That could be potential in the near future, Spud, but judging from Maluno's movement, he's not going to go for that. He's going to come head to head with CLG.eu, and he's going to get himself stunned. Flag and dragging through the wall, I'm pretty sure. There we go. He's going to come in. Meanwhile, Moops is taking a lot of damage on mid. Has been ignited, but will be able to recall.
Yeah, unless Extinct actually got the vision there, but did not do so. We've got Malunu here. CyrusQ kind of warding him off. They know Moops is there, and Moops is so low. He's got that shield. He's got that flash. He does dodge the laser, but the Moonfall comes down, and that's a free kill. I have to say, if he hadn't cancelled his recall there, I think he would have lived. And that was not a good result. That is not what they want in that mid lane, which is honestly the lane which you would expect to do almost best at this stage. He hasn't hit level 6 though, and he's been being poked out by Extinct. It's just, again, not looking great for them. That being said, not snowballing all that hard as of yet.
I agree. I think the recall would have been able to go ahead and complete, but I think in the back of Moops' mind, he's like, if the Damashian standard, the flag comes over the wall and clips me, Jarvan will pick me up. There is no two ways about it. So was caught in two minds there, ended up getting taken out regardless with the final spark coming down. And first blood onto Maluno's Jarvan, which is going to give him a nice boost in the jungle. Meanwhile, at the top lane, though, Freeze is taking more damage, but look at that trap placement. It's pretty much just fending off any onslaught from either CLG.eu or Kikis. If they get too aggressive, it could actually backfire on them.
Yeah, and at the moment, it's just not... Again, it's just not working out that well for them. They are doing a pretty good job with this Lee Sin pick. I do actually like how he's been playing the defense of the tower game here. He's actually taking a lot of damage here. He's been stunned. He actually does the knockback on Freeze. Freeze getting a little bit low, but so is Kikis, and it does look like CyrusQ and Kikis are just going to abandon this tower. It's going to go down shortly, and meanwhile in bot, we have Malunu. The taunt is down on AOD. AOD backing out, but Fushop does not have the damage to stop Malunu from going for this. Flag and Drag is going to be on cooldown relatively shortly, but it does look like Malunu is not going to go for it, not going to risk that extra damage. They know they've won if they just take this top tower in terms of the early game, and well, Kikis is going to fall off anyway. He's Lee Sin.
Well, Kikis is going for a pickaxe first, so maybe Hydra's on the horizon coming in. But either way, is going to be rejoining his lane. CLG.eu staying for a bit longer to make sure the tower didn't fall, but it's on such low health. 290 hit points remaining. It's not going to last for a great deal longer. That being said though, actually Freeze and Mithy are both recalling. Must have a fair chunk of money in their back pocket. Caitlyn with nearly 2,000 gold. And also I can see that Ezreal also nearly has 2,000 gold. So that's an instant BF sword for Caitlyn. And the poke will continue onto Lee Sin, who you have to say is pretty squishy at this stage in the game at level 6. Doesn't have a lot of HP, just over 1k. Not a lot to play with.
Yeah, that being said, he has been maxing that W, so he's got a decent strength shield, at least for the stage in the game that we're at. Yamato Cannon getting hooked in that bottom lane. Just taking a little bit of poke and has got that stand united now. This is basically going to be Lee Sin. I think he's not going to be able to hold this tower now. Freeze and Mithy are in that top lane, and they're going to want to push this hard. They're going to want to push this in now. They can take out that tower, and then they can look to rotate towards that mid lane. Diana Moops not doing so badly at the moment. Obviously, he's still down 1 kill, but it's not a disaster. Significant CS gap between them, though. So, going to be difficult, as I mentioned, for Moops. If Freeze and Mithy, as I would expect they would, then rotate to that mid lane, it's going to be good for them if they siege it. And actually, bottom lane, we've got the box going down. Yamato Cannon in trouble. We've got the ultimate coming across. He's actually getting bursted out. This could be the bot tower for them. I think that's going to work out pretty well for them, but Lunu is here.
Yeah, jumping in, but does actually get himself death sentence, forced to flash away after the Cataclysm, not being able to keep up the bot tower. So, nice play there from Mouse, looking like they are trying to make something happen this game. But you know, with the items that Lee Sin has, pretty sure this is going to be a Tiamat into the Ravenous Hydra. Even still though, it's going to be a little while before he can finish that one off, and it's just a question for me, Spud, if he can get enough farm. Because yes, he can be very scary early game, but as we mentioned before, for Mouse's composition to work, they're going to have to steamroll this first 15, 20, 25 minute period.
Yeah, and they're not doing so at the moment. They are looking okay at the moment. The thing is, right now, they are not so far behind that they can't win fights. And normally Heimerdingers Colossi come out of the laning phase with a really big advantage. That being said, they have also demonstrated in the few times where they aren't, that they are very good at this roaming phase. They're very good at team fights, especially with low numbers of players involved. We are actually seeing Moops there. very narrowly getting caught out, and that's exactly what I mean. They are very good at setting up opportunities to just get those free kills whenever and wherever people are vulnerable. That being said, Yamato Cannon in that top lane is just going to start the Shen Splush. So, the Shen Split Push.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what Yamato Cannon loves to do on actually pretty much all of his champions. We've seen him even doing this with Jace. He will split push all day long. He has complete confidence in the rest of Heimerdingers Colossi. And hey, why shouldn't he? They're looking very strong as Grace Line will be landing on the face of Mithy, but with the shield from both himself and Lux, will be just a-okay, no problems whatsoever. In a 2v3, you feel that Lux and Janna actually are going to be able to keep this tower for a long time. You can put the Eye of the Storm on the tower, fairly good creep wave clear from Extinct as well, so support the mid lane doing work.
Yeah, and Kikis at the moment is actually playing this kind of counter push to Yamato Cannon. That's probably the logic on the Tiamat, giving him that wave clear to just push Yamato Cannon out and then look to get around the map with that, you know, mobility that he has. And at the moment, he's also out trading him, I think. So Kikis is actually working out for them on that Lee Sin at the moment. Moops is shoving in that bot lane. They may be able to make something happen. It looks like Freeze is going to rotate towards them. Moops will not know that, and so long as that mid lane from Heimerdingers Colossi are out of sight, he is not going to be able to push because he just doesn't know if he's in danger or not. That being said, he's going to recall, and then he will have that small opportunity while Freeze is committed at bot to maybe try and make something happen when Diana has re-entered the mid lane. Maybe Mouse can get something done here if Moops can get there, but he's actually not going to go for it. They're just going to back out.
Yeah, and without Kikis with the teleport, it is going to be easier for Heimerdingers Colossi to suddenly change and try and pick themselves up a Drake. Because Stand United, as we've mentioned before, is a global ultimate. If Yamato Cannon just ulties onto one of his teams, suddenly it's a 5 versus 4 out of nowhere. Neither side has tried to opt to go for the Drake thus far. I have to feel that Moops, laying in this position, is waiting like a coiled viper to spring, jumping in onto Freeze, but realizing it's a 1v2, not that interested in following it up. Just going to farm instead. Meanwhile, Nautilus is coming down to bot lane, but you can see that that duo is starting to recall, so not a great deal happening right now, in a bit of a lull period, Spud.
Yeah, Fusharp in that mid lane is continuing to pressure, and Kikis is doing much the same. At the moment, I've got to say Mouse are doing a pretty good job of keeping Heimerdingers Colossi contained. They're keeping them from being able to play that really aggressive style they want to be playing, and they're keeping them from roaming around as well. You can see right now Yamato Cannon wants to recall, but he's been locked in this top lane. Kikis is drawing some aggro from Malunu here. It's quite likely that they're going to try and lock him down. He's blown that W. He's going to get caught out here. Flag and Drag comes down. The Ignite comes down. And that, I've got to say, was just entirely Kikis's... He has given his team an opportunity to take Dragon, but he did not need to die, I feel. And the standing measure is coming down on Dragon. Mithy actually knocks everyone back. The Dragon is still up. Yamato Cannon going low. This has actually gone quite badly for Heimerdingers Colossi. They get caught out, and Janna does not get any kills. We've got the ace in the hole coming down. We've got the laser not available. It's going to be an interesting fight. Can they take this out? Freeze is still staying in, and the rest of Mouse is trying to get out. Fusharp getting knocked up. Fusharp going to be running. Has got that barrier. Flashes over the wall. Nice binding, but it's actually not going to hit. Fusharp has like more than 9 lives there. That was so close for him.
Yeah, but also the timing to put both his barrier and his flash in quick succession, saving his life. My first reaction to Drake was that Heimerdingers Colossi were way too ballsy. Like, just way too aggressive. But they managed to get some kills back. And Drake, did that go down? Yes, it did go down to Serescu. So even though it was somewhat of a back and forth, they did pick up the global gold. And they are only 500 behind now. And compared to game number 1, Spud, Mouse are just on a different level of playing. They're well and truly still in this game. In game number 1, they were backs against the wall already at 15 minutes through.
Yeah, at this point they were just being destroyed. And we are seeing again, Freeze now kind of sticking around. We've actually got Malunu going back in. It does look like they're just going to be grouping up for the push here. But that might be underestimating Diana's damage, putting it down. She is going to back. He's going to force Malunu to back away now. Does look low like Diana is going to need to, take these towers. And I've just got to say, Amaus need to start taking towers. If they don't, Yamato Cannon is going to keep split pushing. Even though Keys is keeping him contained, he's still going to be applying pressure because Kikis will be committed top, Shen will not, and then all it will take is one decisive team fight and Heimerdingers Colossi will steal it away. Moops is continuing to play that split push as well, but he's not really ever getting the opportunity to actually take towers, and that mid tower is still almost on full as well.
Yeah, indeed. So actually Moops going in and managing somehow, some way to steal the blue buff from under Maluno's nose. So it's a bit of a a personal victory there to Moops, who's now going to stroll his way down to bot lane. But again, we're in that lull period, so let's have a quick look at some of the items that are being built around the map. Both AD carries opting for the Bloodthirster, very much a double lift comp here, build for Fushop, I should say, who likes to go for Bloodthirster first and then build into the blue build Ezreal afterwards, allowing him to have that early to late game damage that Ezreal on blue build definitely does lack somewhat, but Caitlyn on the early Bloodthirster is going to be very, very scary. Let's have a quick look at the junglers. Have either of them opted and played a hand yet? For Maluno, he's gone for the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, fairly understandable. Taunt's been landed at top lane from Kikis, but it's not going to be enough. Meanwhile, at bot, Caitlyn will finish off the tower, and Nautilus is chugging through to his Aegis of the Legion, so nothing really out of the ordinary from either team.
Yeah, and again though, this is what I was saying before. We've actually got Malunu potentially going to be coming in on Kikis. Kikis knocks him away. He could still get this though. The Cataclysm comes down. He has got the ward. He does put the distance, but he's been slowed, flashed, taunted, getting caught out again. Kikis is going to go down here, and that's not the situation. But the ult Ezreal picks up the kill on Shen, and I just have to say, it's just, again, Maus aren't finding the opportunities to take towers. They aren't able to do it. Cyrus Q actually getting caught out in that mid lane. He's going to back out though.
Yeah, as expected, Lee Sin has gone for the Ravenous Hydra, which is a massive power spike for him, but he is going full damage. Just full damage. He's not going to have a great deal of sustain. Yes, he's maxed out his W, but in big team fights when stuff is happening thick and fast, it's just delaying the inevitable by a half a second, split second kind of time frame. So again, I can understand where they're coming from, but I have to feel that the Jarvan, as you mentioned in Champion Select with the two shields from both the Eye of the Storm, courtesy of Janna, and also the Prismatic Barrier from Lux, there is just so many shields coming down. I can't see Lee Sin and Ezreal popping through everybody. A lot of this is going to have to come from Moops, and so far he's having a pretty good game. Already finished off his Zoni's Hourglass, so the right boxes are being ticked. Can they follow through with it though?
Yeah, they're having... the problem is the longer this stalls out, the more it favours Heimerdingers Colossi, and Lee Sin is very much countering out Yamato Cannon in terms of stopping him from pushing, and indeed stopping him from leaving the lane to go and, teleport down. But it's definitely true, and actually this, where he is now, Kick is quite dangerous, but it's very useful for him if he could stay there. If he actually had some wards right now, he could put them out in the jungle, and then he could just use that for safety. Yamato Cannon is going to chase this though. It does look like Kix is going to have to run. He has put that ward down already, so he's going to be escaping that. And actually going back in, that could be a huge error. Malunu is coming in with the taunt now as well. Flag and drag comes down, Cataclysm comes down. He gets pulled back into the Cataclysm by the Cataclysm itself, and that is not a good situation. Kikis again not able to deal with the ganks, although there is a push in mid.
There isn't. To add insult into injury, he actually got sucked into the wall. His death animation went a bit odd there. But yeah, I mean, the final nail in that coffin, I'm keeping an eye on mid, but there's more harassment than, a full-blown engage kicking off. But the final nail in the coffin was when he landed his Sonic Wave Resonating Strike combination onto Yamato Cannon. That was like, okay, you're dead now, mate. Because, as you said, Maluno was coming up from the side. Moops has found himself a ninja. Whether he can convert it into a kill and connect the dots is another question entirely. Doing a fair amount of damage, actually. But the Stand Unite is coming out. The Moonfall, as well, was not off cooldown. Had previously been used. So nice attempt from Moops. But smart play from Yardakan. He was baiting out the Moonfall and then used Stand United straight afterwards. And in doing so, has maneuvered himself into position to take up a Drake. So just exquisite play. I thought for a second, for a heartbeat, that AOD had actually stolen the Drake with Death Sentence, which I think would have gave me a slight heart attack. But it is going to go to Maluno.
Yeah, that is going to cost them that top tower though, so I don't think Heimerdingers Colossi are going to be that pleased with the way that's turned out. They've used that long cooldown from Yamato Cannon, which is going to cost them significantly. Won't have that opportunity to pressure, and right now there are strong duelists on Mouse. I've got to say though, they need to keep the enemy jungle ward, they need to keep this pressure on. Mikikis has got the ignite down on Extinct, but he's being chased down by Malunu and Freeze. The binding goes down, he's not going to be able to W out of that. He's been locked down, and that is going to be another kill.
Yeah, and this is the problem that I'm mentioning. He has just no survivability. Yes, he's slippery. Yes, he's difficult to contend with when he's jumping onto wards. But if you lock him down, which is pretty much what Lux and Jarvan are masters at doing, you're going to die as Lee Sin. There is no way that you can just tank through that right now. So it is looking pretty bad. Yes, it's very, very close in terms of scoreline, in terms of gold and towers, but as you've mentioned, this is an early to mid-game composition, and right now Heimerdingers Colossi are ahead, albeit small, but ahead nonetheless. Lux is just going to get stronger. She started out with more of a, slow and steady approach with the Morellonomicon, but now she's starting to build through a lot of ability power, so her final sparks are going to hurt very, very much.
Yeah, Shen also starting to get to that beefcake stage where he will not be pushed out easily from that top lane. Kikis is building a Last Whisper, so he'll soon be able to try and deal with that straight up. But it's only a matter of time, I feel, before he's going to become unable to push Yamato Cannon out. Hydra or no, he will always have the wave clear, but if he's not pushing Yamato Cannon back, then Yamato Cannon is pretty much free to teleport, and that is not the situation you want. That being said, Kikis has absolutely tons of sustain at the moment. He has that lifesteal from his W, 20% lifesteal from that, and then another 12% from the Hydra. He could even potentially go for something like a Blade of the Ruined King later on, but that would be possibly excessive. I don't know what point is excessive when you're dealing with someone who's going to try and grind you down like Shen. You may even be able to get lifesteal enough to just ignore him. That's actually a potential option for dealing with Shen. Just have someone with a short cooldown knockback on that ultimate, or relatively short cooldown, and actually potentially action going down. We've got the lantern going down, and Eddie does manage to get in the way. I'm going to finish my point before stuff happens, and then I'm going to transition over to you, Metas. If you could just ignore and do the Tryndamere thing where you just farm the minions right in front of Shen, that could work for you.
Yeah, Moves is being engaged on in the meantime. A depth charge and also True Shot Barrage come through. He's been dredgelined back in, but still not down. Freeze is going to be able to escape by the skin of his teeth. No, he's not. Ignite will finish that one off. Now Moops is forced to go through the zone. He's Hourglass chasing with the Sonic Wave, converting into Resonating Strike, but that is on top of a trap from Caitlyn will signify his death. They're going to be re-engaging. AOD is very, very low. He's going to get finished off. Final Spark comes through. Saraskew's forced to push himself away. Moops comes back in again. Beautiful Moonfall, but it's not going to be enough damage with the Light Binding landing underneath the tower. That's going to mark the end of it. Can Ezreal clean this one up? He's going so deep onto mid. He claims it, but will find himself killed, courtesy of Extinct. And that is 8 players falling thick and fast with a 1-for-1 trade at the end, with Extinct and also Saraskew standing tall. I need to catch my breath, or actually we could have another engage. A flash through, forcing the flash from Saraskew, but with the red and blue buff, can Extinct pick this one up? No, he can't. But my goodness, what a fight that was.
Yeah, just a very, very broken up, very, very messy kind of style. We do now have Extinct with that laser back up. He's pushing this out. There isn't a Sirus-Q to stop him either. That minion wave will just hit the tower, and that will hit it for, a good 10-20% of its health, I bet. It's going to be expensive to deal with, but in the long run, that fight just slightly inching in the favor of Heimerdingers Colossi. And that again is not good, because that fight was pretty good for Mouse. Moops was in a very good position to clean up, and he did in fact clean up several guys there, but it wasn't quite enough, and in the end favoring Colossi. Still, they are not out yet. We have got that Last Whisper on Kikis. I'm sure when he goes back he'll be able to pick that up. Once he's got that, he's going to be a much stronger duelist against that Shen, and I'm just curious whether he can fight them off. Malunu is in that mid lane, not going to be going for anything there.
I have to mention though that with Diana and Ezreal both looking farmed, fed, and just generally scary, Mouse are very much a threat in this game, and They should be. This is the kind of period in time in the match where they should be very, very scary to play off against. They have these kind of champions, like Ezreal has his Iceborne Gauntlets finished off, has the Bloodthirster on top of that. So he is being really irritating in team fights, constantly slowing people down, but has a significant amount of damage to back it up. Whereas Diana is just man-moding. Rabadon's Deathcap and Azonia's Hourglass already. She is chunking through everybody. And Lee Sin, although his score doesn't look particularly awesome, in that team fight he was putting himself in really dangerous positions, forcing the enemy to focus him, which is why Moops came in after his Zonia's Hourglass and just played the cleaned-up crew. So, well played overall from Mouse. Whether they can keep this going though against Heimerdingers Colossi is yet to be seen, but early signs looking good, Spud.
Yeah, and actually looking at bot lane right now, Kikis is life-stealing to a ridiculous degree. He'd lost about half his health. He just hit it back from like one minion wave. We actually now see Malunu in this lane. He is going to be getting caught with the hooks. Not going to be getting the Northwest hook though, so he's a little bit too tanky, and it does look like they might get engaged upon. Freeze actually takes out Moops, so this is not a fight Maus want now, and they are just going to back out. Yamato Cannon getting aggressive. Has got that taunt, has got that flash only in 100 seconds. Kikis is actually still sticking around. They know Extinct is in mid lane, I guess, and that's why they're playing this aggressive. They also know there's a big minion wave in that bot lane. Malunu has been seen, has been getting focused. He is going to be taking a lot of damage here. It looks like they're just going to focus him down. Stan United coming down the box as well. We've got Fushab on the edge, not taking a lot of damage, but can they keep him alive, and can they compete with Freeze's damage? AOD is just trying to ward them off, and Yamato Cannon is taking tons of damage. Malunu hovering on the side, looking for the re-engage. The laser comes across. It doesn't actually take him out, but they do pick up someone with the ace in the hole, and then Yamato Cannon is just too tanky to burst out. They are having to play the retreat game now, and that is not what Maus want to be doing. They are just getting focused down one at a time, easy kills, and that is not a good fight in the end from Maus.
Heimerdingers Colossi is so good at kiting though. That looked really precarious when the depth charge and the dredge line landed on the front lines, and it was a 3 versus 4 situation, but they managed to stall enough with the Stan United coming down from Yamato Cannon, and with Lux being forced to recall after the previous engagement that picked up the kill onto Moops. They stalled long enough for Lux to move from Fountain into contention, the final spark landing on a couple of players, finish off Thresh, and it just suddenly transitioned into a Drake. So again, just beautiful play from Heimerdingers Colossi, who looked dead and buried at the very beginning of that re-engage.
Yeah, the problem that they're encountering right now is that he's like, they've just got several guys that are too tanky, and unless they're split pushing, they can't grind those guys down. But they're having huge problems reaching Freeze in that backline, and Extinct is doing so much damage that he is just destroying anyone who tries. It's difficult to cope with, and Maus right now seem to want to play the split push game, which may be their only option. That team fight is a clear example that they are having a lot of trouble focusing people down, and they do have that good poke kite setup for holding the mid lane. But as I say, and as I've said before, the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be for Maus to play that game, the more they need to take towers. And you can see right now, they still haven't taken a tower for the last, what, 20 minutes? No, it can't be that. 10 minutes.
It has been a significant amount of time. Yamato Cannon actually 1v1ing up against Moops and will just run himself away, courtesy of the taunt. So, having a quick look around the map, interesting build from Caitlyn. Instead of going for, you know, a Phantom Dancer or a Static Shiv, just go straight for Zephyr, and pretty interesting build there, Spud. Do you have any thoughts on it?
It looks very much as if she's just planning on not dying ever, because she's got quite a lot of protection already, and it seems like she isn't going to be the major damage source, so she's just keeping herself alive. Kikis nearly getting caught out there in that mid lane. It was very, very close indeed. Yeah, I've got to say, I feel like the main reason has to be the tenacity on the Zephyr. May also be something to do with the mathematics of damage scaling. She's already got that Janus shield, she's already got that Bloodthirst and Last Whisper, so the Piltover is going to be hitting like a truck. And that movement speed is going to be very valuable on her as well. But yeah, I do have to wonder why no crit at all in that build. Must not be planning on auto-attacking very much. That's the only explanation I can really think of.
Well, we have the first health item now on Kikis, Lee Sin, Ruby Crystal. They have called the pause here, and I did see a message. Oh, it just said sec. So clearly there are some issues here from Kikis and Mouse, and hopefully they will be resolved very shortly. But at about 30 minutes through this game, 6,000 gold in it in favour of Heimerdingers Colossi, who, remember, if you have just joined us, or if you're watching before, the first game did go to Heimerdingers Colossi. This is a best of 5 finals for $400 and the title of EUS Challenger Series champions. That actually Heimerdingers Colossi are in the running to pick up their 4th consecutive title. So Mouse are trying their best to stop that from being a reality. But judging off the way this game is going, I have to say, Spot, it's looking like it has a 2-0 written all over it, because I feel that Mouse may have just gone past their expiration date. They're no longer going to be as tasty as before from their own perspective, because Ezreal, yes, he's 3-1-4, he's doing good damage. He also has a Muramana, which is fairly interesting and quite impressive at this stage of the game with his other items. But the problem is that in the last team fight, Diana got completely deleted from the side, played no part in that team fight whatsoever. Lee Sin is trying to truck along, but his build is just, it's lagging behind the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, Lee Sin has built, I'm going to spend my entire life in top lane dueling Shen, basically. That is what he has built right there. And now he's having some problems doing that because he hasn't got the vision, he hasn't got the ward control to actually try and pressure him back, because every time he's done it, he's just gotten a Malunu on him who has snuck around the wards or just straight up walked up to him, and Yamato Cannon is good at setting Malunu up. He has that taunt and he just jumps on him, gets that taunt down, and that is just straight up a kill almost for free. And that is going to cause a lot of problems every time. The problem is essentially, every time Mouse wants to force a fight, they have to contend with the split push from Yamato Cannon. Every time Heimerdingers Colossi want to force a fight, they can just do it whenever. To them it doesn't matter. There's almost never significant pressure on the side lanes for them. And right now you can see it. Mouse might want to force this fight, but actually it looks like Heimerdingers Colossi are going in. AOD, they are aware it looks like that it's only a 3-man in that mid lane, and we have got Lee Sin and bot. So it does look like it's not going to happen though. And Extinct is in that mid lane as well. Shen heading down that top lane, pushing hard, and we have got Diana going to head him off.
Yeah, as you say, that's what Heimerdingers Colossi love to do. They love to dictate the pace. If Mouse go all in, they also have Mithy's Janet to contend with, who is just going to be able to monsoon everybody back, Howling Gale everyone away, and reset the fight without any problems. So, again, it's very, very difficult for Mouse to find that perfect moment to strike that's going to work in their favour. And Yamato Cannon is just farming top all day long. He's drawing moops to him. Lee Sin's picked up that secondary tower though at bot, which is going to be fairly nice in terms of map presence. But both the top laners right now are going all in. Ignites are being popped down. Here comes Java from the side. Moops is going to be forced to go through the zone. He's hourglass, but there is no backup from his team. Meanwhile, in mid, Serescu looking to make something happen with Kikis jumping on the back lines. Look at that damage onto Extinct, but with the Stand United and the Prismatic Barrier, it is going to be more than enough. Ace in the hole comes through, then that's going to be another pickup. And I'm still somewhat scratching my head at Moops going so aggressive at top lane onto Yamato Cannon. That seemed like a bit of a misplay.
Well, you can see the logic behind it. The logic was essentially, right, Yamato Cannon is low. If I can force, he could use that Stand United, yes. But if I have this opportunity now to force, a 4-on-5 in that bottom lane, actually, there is a potential fight coming down. Freeze has been hooked. The flare goes down, but misses. We actually now got Fusharp looking for this damage. Malunu tanking this out. They've got a lot of poke here. And now Mouse are getting locked down. Cyrus Q has to flash out of that Cataclysm. We've got the box down in the middle, but there's no follow-up. Fusharp has been taunted. Ezreal trying to set on the backline, but there's no way he can get out of this. Flash comes down. That might be enough, but I don't think so. We've got the flag control. We've got the barrier, but it's not enough. And that is another 2 kills, and it looks like Heimerdingers Colossi are just going to go straight back to that Baron.
Yeah, it is by and large free. Moops is en route though, so could see something spectacular coming out, but Baron's already at 50% hit points. Diana doesn't seem too interested, going to be pushing mid instead. Fair enough. Can't really blame Moops for this play. And realizing even if he got to Baron in time, going to have 5 players to play off against. Not likely much would happen. Lots of ward coverage down though. So Kikis and Moops have been spotted. Dredgeline comes in onto Freeze, but a beautiful light blinding. Not as much damage as I was expecting there. Freeze is taking so much punishment from Kikis. But again, the prismatic barrier comes to the good, and a barrier on top of that from Freeze's summoner spell. So Kikis is doing a lot of burst damage with the Ravenous Hydra and Last Whisper. But again, there are so many shields going back in again now onto blue, but Maluno is charging Kikis away.
Yeah, he was unable to steal that in time. He was looking for that opportunity. Knew Extinct was low on her on mana, and the Freeze was low on health. Kind of went for that risk. It did force Maluno to react to him and waste some time, but this is going to mean that Heimerdingers Colossi are now ready to make aggressive sieging pushes. They are going to have, as I mentioned in Champions Select, a very good setup for doing that. They've got the Shen split push. They've got the Maluno with the ability to lock people down under the tower and to dive extremely well with that armor aura. And they have tons of shields, and they have long range poke. They have a very, very, very good setup. If it's just, you know, the ideal situation for Heimerdingers Colossi is just their 4 guys at bot lane, and actually Extinct could be in trouble here. Kikis is getting aggressive. 4 people in that bot lane, and then you have Yamato Cannon in the top lane, and they will just siege that forever, prevent engagements happening on them, and they will force it when they choose.
Oh, Kikis is getting just smacked about from the back here. Like the final spark landing, Maluno cataclysming at the same time. Will finish that one off with the poke at the end. Again, Moops and Yamato Cannon are doing this this dangerous dance to the death top between the two of them. Don't seem too preoccupied with anything else that's happening, but it is just getting from bad to worse for Mouse as they find themselves 8 to 19 down. Just under 8k, in fact just over 8k goal deficit. Moops is coming down to bot, to mid I should say, but I don't think he wants any piece of this pie. Meanwhile, bot tower has fallen, Lightbinding comes out again, clearing the wave. Extinct and Maluno will pull themselves back. So slowly but surely they're getting the tower advantage alongside the global advantage.
Yeah, it's not easy. It just seems like Heimerdingers Colossi always do this. They are always just really, really good at playing together, roaming around together, catching people out, getting that 1 kill, that 2 kills. Not, you know, when the team fights come, they are usually ahead already, and when they do fight it, they fight it very well. But I've got to say their real strength does seem to be just their ability to coordinate across the entire map as a unit. And we are seeing Heimerdingers Colossi with this Yamato Cannon in this top lane going back in towards that top. Moops will try and fight him here, but there's no way he can actually burst him down. Yamato Cannon might just have to fight a very sustained fight here. We have got the Ignite down from Moops. He's going aggressive, but actually now backs out. He's not going to want to go for this apparently, or not. He has landed that Q on nothing in particular. There is a fight in the mid lane. That is actually going to be a little bit more interesting. Extinct picked up Kikis. Full combo, I'm guessing, across the wall. The squishy Lee Sin gets bursted out. Lulu in behind the tower. Stan United on him. He's going to be in trouble now. They've got that shield. The Foo Shark gets blown up. We've now got AOD getting destroyed. Extinct in there too. Putting the shields across the shields. All the shields. Rocket at the Iron Solari. We've got the flag going down for the kill. Boost is exhausted. There's no way he can pick up Freeze easily. There's just way too much lifesteal out of him. And that means another 2 towers probably, and that should be the inhib as well. If not even the game, actually.
It could very well be the GG coming out. There's about 15 seconds on Kikis. As you said before, he did get caught with the combo, light binding, the flag and drag from Java, and then a final spark to finish off things nicely. And yeah, the GGs are coming out from Freeze. They're going to pick up 1 Nexus Tower, going for the second, and that looks like it's got a 2-0 written all over it. So a nice attempt there. Kikis is probably going to go down. There we go, ace again from Caitlyn. A nice idea from Mouse, but we both felt in Champion Select that unless they made things happen between 10 to 25 or thereabouts minutes, they were probably going to lose the game. They simply didn't have a mid to late game composition on their side. It started okay. They were kind of level playing field, but as soon as Diana started to just push top and not really play a part in the team fights, that's for me, Spud, when it began to just come crashing down for Mouse.
Yeah, it's just hard to compete with that kind of play style. And yeah, as you say, in the end, I have to say a lot of this though was down to the fact that the carries got such a good start. And in fact, it was just they weren't able to make that early game play happen. They weren't able to take pushing advantages, and they weren't able, as a result, to stop Extinct getting to that very, very strong late game state. They weren't able to stop Freeze getting to be incredibly tanky, and in the end it worked out very well. That high protection team fight coupled with the high siege and just incredibly solid performance all around. But we will be going into the third game of this best of 5 now. If this game goes to Heimerdingers Colossi, then they will have won their next... they will have won the 7th... I nearly called it the 7th Heimerdingers Colossi tournament. Oh god. The 7th EUS Challenger Series, and that is going to be a very likely thing to happen at this stage, but Mouse still in it. They could win 3 games in a row. The only other team that's actually ever done that, though, having gone down 0-2, is their opponents. So we'll be seeing you after this break.